Joined now by an old friend, and I'm glad you're here, Charles Davis.
Thank you.
We're going to talk this NFL Combine. The NFL Network provides live coverage of the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine Thursday through Sunday. Coverage starts at 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday and Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday and Sunday. Charles, you're going to be busy with the NFL Network this week. Yeah. I got to talk quarterbacks because everybody's talking that.
Everybody's talking.
You see the top of the list. Do me a little favor. Let's go back a year. Kind of look at those quarterbacks a little bit and compare them to this year. Similar, like everybody is up there saying, hey, we need it. Same scenario this year. There's going to be moves to move up. There's teams that we haven't even heard about or talked about that are going to try and get up in that top 5 and grab a quarterback. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think that's very accurate. I think people are making having those conversations, making those phone calls, sending out those feelers, because if there's a guy that you want, you know you've got to really go get him up there. Unless, of course, you're in love with J.J. McCarthy in Michigan, who I think is probably a little bit underrated, although that's starting to dissipate. Because how many times do we talk about someone call them underrated? They're no longer underrated, all right? We're going to see more, and what you're backing on with J.J. McCarthy is the things that you've seen on tape, you're going to get more and more of that. He hadn't had to demonstrate it as much at Michigan because they turned around and put the ball in the chest of Corum, put the ball in the chest, right? And off they went. He can make throws. He can make plays. We watched him do it. He just wasn't asked to do it on a continued basis because Michigan was lining up and beating you up on the line of scrimmage so they could run the football. The next set of quarterbacks, because our top tier is Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May.
Can you stay there for a second?
Right.
Daniels, up the list, and this is a 9-week period that he jumped so big?
Okay, well, let's go back over the last few years. Going into his senior year, Joe Burrow, did anyone have him as a top overall pick? The answer was no. Not going into it.
Right.
He played his way into it his senior year, but going into it, the answer was no. Some people had a third round, fourth round grade on it. So off he goes. I know Zach Wilson's career hasn't gone great, but let's go back to when he was coming out. Yeah. He's another guy going into his senior year. End up being number 2 pick in the entire draft.
Right.
So we're seeing these rises, and if you look around, Daniel Jeremiah made this distinction with me the other day. He said there's been a lot of the transfers. Didn't work one place, it worked another place, different set of coaching. Here we go. Bo Nix fits that category. Michael Penix fits that category. Jaden Daniels fits that category. So, yeah, I'm used to this late rise. I think we used to have the Rock's arch eyebrow over the late rise. I don't know that we have it quite as much now. We just kind of see it, and then we kind of take it at face value. Yeah. Daniels and May are going to be a big fight at 2. Because I think Caleb Williams, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Caleb Williams, I'm just putting him to Chicago 1, and I'm not having that discussion anymore. Okay, I think it's over. 2 is where the fight begins. Yeah. Jaden Daniels, May. Daniels, May. That's where I think it is. I think now we start getting into when you're the Giants at 6, do you believe in McCarthy? Do you believe in Penix? Do you believe in Bo Nix? Now we're starting to have that conversation. Is that too rich for you? Not if you think he's my guy.
Right.
No one's too rich if you think you're the guy. Travis Frederick? Remember Travis Frederick when Dallas drafted him the center out of Wisconsin, and the whole draft freaked out. Whoa! You got to get him in the 3rd round. They took him in the 1st because they had conviction. They were right. He was an all-pro.
Right. Worked out.
Charles, you have great perspective on the entire league. I know this is a loaded question, but let's talk about the Colts.
Sure.
What is an ideal offseason for the Colts? With Anthony Richardson coming back, missing all that time between free agency and the draft, what's best case scenario for the Colts?
Health, and health, right? I sit there and watch the Colts, and we were joking before we started doing this. My broadcast crew at CBS, we actually talked about it during the season. Like, we haven't seen the Colts in, 2 seasons now?
Yeah.
And we'd like to do that because we love coming here, all right? This is a great place to come and good organization to work with and the whole thing. But health, Jonathan Taylor dinged last year, right? Anthony Richardson just getting started, dinged last year. Offensive line playing hurt last year. Health, and health. I love Shane Steichen. You'd mentioned it, Matt. He's all ball, man, right? Yeah. You spend that time with him. But he's all ball, how do I get better all the time? He's not all ball and just trying to let you know that he has a big brain.
Right.
We've had a few coaches recently that have fallen prey to that, and it hasn't worked so well for them. This guy is much more of a, I love ball, how am I going to do it for my organization, how am I going to do it for my team? I think that's a big one for them. Keeping Gus as your defense coordinator, so you got your system in place. Obviously, you still need players, okay? You still need guys who can make some of these extra plays, take some pressure off of your guys out wide. But I think Pittman, Downs, I think those are good football players. I just think they've got a chance. And by the way, you're in the right division. You're absolutely in the
Right.
right division, because when you sit down and analyze it, 2 straight years now, the team that had the division locked up at halfway point
Yeah.
didn't finish the job. Okay, 2 years ago it was the Titans. We all waved the white flag.
Right,
7
right,
straight
right,
losses. Yeah.
You guys were the best ones to signify the white flag was raised by the moves that were made by ownership when it looked like the Titans had it locked up, right? And then Jacksonville reeled them in. Last year, Jacksonville midseason, what, 8-3?
Sure.
8-3.
This thing was done.
Yeah.
Yep.
1
Done.
5.
And at the end of the season, they weren't the team.
Right.
So this is a volatile division.
Charles Davis right there from the NFL Network. Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. I'm Jeffrey Gorman. We're talking ball all over the place with those Colts. Michael Pittman Jr. up for a possibility of a franchise tag or a new contract. What does he mean to this offense? What are the offseason priorities in your eyes for Chris Ballard?
He means a ton to this offense, because if you're coming back with Anthony Richardson, who lost his rookie year and that growth and development, you guys saw it. And tell me if I'm wrong on this one. If you're talking about targets for a kid coming out of college who's a low 60% thrower, you want people who've got catch radius.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
Now, Downs didn't fit that, but his catch radius was getting open and creating separation, so that increases your catch radius because now it's not a contested catch. But Pittman, can he go up and get the football? Is he more forgiving if the ball's not right on the numbers? Yes, that's what he means to a young quarterback. That's what he means to an organization. By the way, when he makes that big snag and the chains move and the defense stays off the field and you get extra downs and now Jonathan Taylor can impose his will, that's what you're looking for. I remember looking at the team last year and seeing how you were built. Do you have the big tight end who can go get it? You know, I kept waiting for, was it Jelani Woods?
Right.
I kept waiting for Woods to be one of those guys. That's what you're talking about, having people who can be forgiving for your quarterback as he develops. And by the way, we're all hoping to see the Josh Allen bounce.
Sure.
We thought Josh Allen was a 50-something% thrower because that's all he was in college.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a growth. We did his first playoff
It was
game.
crazy. It was
crazy,
nuts.
right,
it
Matt?
was nuts. I mean, it went from like 57 to 70.
Right?
Yeah.
And in the NFL, no.
That doesn't happen, yeah.
No. Like if you turn that script in for a Disney movie, they go, you might want to back that down a little bit, right? We did his first playoff game his third year in the league. Just what you had said. He'd gone from 57% to 60-something% to 70% that year.
Yeah.
You don't have that kind of growth in the league. But what he did was he opened the door for people who had low percentages before that we would have put down the line and said, maybe it can happen now.
Yeah.
And that's where Anthony Richardson is.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Going along with the Colts, last year having to start 13 games with Gardner Minshew right there, right on the precipice of making the playoffs. We remember how Week 18 went.
Yep.
But does that give you even more confidence in Shane Steichen? Because he's worked with a lot of different quarterbacks, a lot of different styles. This guy can make it work with whatever deck of cards or whatever hand he's been dealt.
You guys are around him more than I am, but I'm willing to wager that. Well, I shouldn't say wager because I work for the league. So I'm willing to discuss that you never heard him once say anything about what he didn't have.
Yeah. No, that's right.
Just not what he
right.
just not how he operates.
No, it doesn't make excuses.
Right?
Yeah.
He does Gene Hackman and Hoosiers. This is your team.
Right.
Let's cheer for who's here.
Coach goes, I go.
Not for who's not here. Right. So that's how Shane operates. And the guys bought in.
Yeah.
The guys believed, and it's a powerful deal. And what's really crazy about it is, at one point, you guys went to Baltimore and beat them in overtime.
Right. How about that?
And I had just gotten done watching Baltimore. I think we saw that, and then Baltimore came to Pittsburgh, beat Pittsburgh up for like 58 minutes. Pickett throws a bomb to the side to Pickens, and somehow Pittsburgh walks away with a win. And I was like, what the heck is going on in this league?
Right.
But I think doing that, going to Baltimore and saying, hey, we don't back down off of anyone, and if you leave the door open and we find a way to make plays and win, that was a big deal.
Charles Davis right there from the NFL Network. You've been eyeing some of these draft prospects. You got your eye on a few guys that may be under the radar freaks of nature when it comes around to Sunday football, even in the mid rounds. Anybody you're
it's funny. I don't know that I'm even at the under the radar where they've gotten there. I'm still catching up as we go. You go from the NFL season. I worked the Super Bowl this year. I'm lucky enough to do the World Feed with my partner Ian Eagle for the 11th straight year. So I'm just turning the page on.
You got to throw Madden in there somewhere too. I mean,
that always that's always there. But seeing it. But I'm going to give you a guy that just his body beautiful, and we don't know what we've got yet. And his name is Jayx Hunt.
Okay.
And he's an edge rusher out of Houston Christian, which used to be Houston Baptist. He was a safety at Cornell. and barely played safety at Cornell.
Wow.
Body transforms, goes to Houston Christian, becomes an edge rusher, becomes the Southland Player of the Year on defense. He was at the Senior Bowl, didn't tear it up. But this kid is developing and I'm just wondering if you get him in the 5th round, the 6th round, and you work. I want to see what he looks like in 2 to 3 years because he certainly looks the part. So I'm just throwing that. You want a mid-round? I'm going to give you one.
That's deep right there.
That's
You ask. He delivers.
That's why I bring Charles on.
And I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out.
All
Let's
right.
talk in a month.
There you go. Is this your bag right here?
That is my bag.
All right, I'll take a cherry Airhead.
There we go.
Some Sour Patch Kids. I know you're loaded. I know you're loaded.
By the way, when the heck are the Rocket Fizz people going to hear us?
Every year we do this.
Hear us and say, you guys are in. We're sponsoring you guys.
Oh,
we should collectively have signed our NIL with Rocket Fizz already.
That's the one right there.
All right. So Rocket Fizz,
a meet and greet with Charles Davis right outside the circle.
Listen,
on
Rocket Fizz, if you're listening, we are your people. We do this every single year. And by the way, we can do more, okay? It doesn't have to be a one-off once a year.
No.
We can do more.
That's why we have to get you back for Colts games.
Got to be back for Colts games. We'll rock and roll.
The running joke is here, 3-4 years ago here at the Combine, I said, Charles, you've been to the Combine a million times. You've done a million Colts games. Like, what's your favorite place in Indy? He goes, Rocket Fizz, the candy store.
And by the way, after we picked Matt up off the floor, he's like, "What? What?
No
St. Elmo's, no Prime,
Elmo's,
no Ocean, none of that. No. Rocket Fizz,
just the candy store, like he's 8 years old.
I love it. Hey, whatever it takes.
100%.
Charles, let's bring it back to present day right here. Last question is, do we see a three-peat, which I've never thought that I could be talking about at this level of play?
I don't bet against them.
For gosh sakes.
But here's the deal.
With a salary cap, with losing key players.
It's unbelievable. And with the receiving core he has and did it for 2 years in a row. And the defense and the transformation from offense first to defense first. The transformation of Patrick Mahomes saying, I won't play hero ball at quarterback because my defense is really good. I show you maturation. I said it during the year. I stand by it. The last four, the playoffs and into the playoffs, was the best quarterback play Patrick Mahomes has played in his career.
I agree.
I don't care about the MVPs. I don't care about the big numbers.
No mistakes.
He was the best version of quarterback he could be during that time because he understood his team. He understood clock. He understood situation. He would take sacks to make sure he held on to the football as opposed to throwing it up for grabs. He did everything right down the stretch. By the time he threw an interception, it was the Super Bowl.
Right.
That was his first interception in his last 7 playoff games. And that one was just he threw it off target.
Yeah.
Okay? So I just think that's the deal. Can they do it? They better re-sign Chris Jones.
That's it. That starts right there. Love it. Charles, we could talk all day. Have fun at this NFL Combine. Don't forget, the NFL Network has you covered. Charles will be there as well, providing live coverage of the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine Thursday through Sunday. Coverage starts at 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday and Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday and Sunday. He was at the gym at 5:40 a.m. today.
Charles
Davis.
Chris Spielman told me I was late.
And Chris Spielman beat him there.
Chris Spielman's like, where have you been?
I love it.
Great to see you
love
guys.
Love talking to you, Charles.
Appreciate it. Thanks for everything. Rocket Fizz. Take note.
Charles Davis.